Okay, so picking up with the second half of the syllabus, I've already talked about the course information and the course assignments. Now I'm going to talk about the course policies and resources. This first policy here, the speech assignment rules, is so very important. I want you to make sure you read this very closely and that you understand it. I'm going to talk over it here, and this is really the only place I'm going to talk about this, but there's more on how to record your speeches and how to upload them to YouTube that are available in the modules under the recording our speeches module. Speech assignment rules, then, these are the rules you must follow when performing and recording your speech assignments. And I reserve the right to fail or penalize your grade if you don't follow these rules. So I want you to start your recording by clearly stating your first and last name, and you could say the class and the assignment if you'd like there. There's a sample video that I provide you in the modules of a student doing this, so you can model yourself at that. But start the video right away by saying your first and your last name. After you identify yourself on your video, take a shot of the audience, okay? And I'm going to talk a little bit about the audience in just a second. And also take the time to clearly show me each and every one of the note cards that you're using so that I can grade them. You're going to show the camera very clearly and go through each one so that I can assess it. Again, there is a sample video in the modules that shows you a student doing this. As far as the audience rule for our speeches during this ongoing pandemic that won't go away, I'm going to ask that you speak before any size audience that you can safely gather, giving your local pandemic response. I want you to have at least one person in your audience. So that's the minimum expectation. There's only two exceptions to this expectation, and they're talked about below. But I want you to have at least one person who's in your audience. Speaking with a person in the room is much different than speaking to no one. And you're not going to become a good public speaker speaking in a room by yourself. So practice before an audience, and I want you to have at least one person. If you have more than that and you can be safe, wear masks, socially distance. If you need to go outside for safety, you can. Just try to make sure you're in a quiet place. But please have at least one person in your audience. Here's the exceptions. You're currently positive with COVID-19, so you're going to risk somebody else's health. I may ask for proof if that's the case. Most likely I'll just work with you. You are not vaccinated and you are immunocompromised. So you're unable to be vaccinated and you are immunocompromised, meaning your health is at risk. I may request a doctor's note. If those two exceptions don't apply to you, currently positive or not vaccinated and immunocompromised, then I can give you an exception. Please communicate with me as appropriate. During your speeches, you must stand for the entirety of your speech, clear of any obstructions, so don't have something in between you and the camera. You should record from the audience's point of view. So the camera's out in the audience. You're standing in front of the camera is facing at you. I must be able to clearly see your face and your upper body. I want to see from the waist up with your hands visible for the entire speech. So please stand back away from the camera. If you're too close to the camera, I'm going to think you're cheating on the speech. So stand back away from the camera. I must, though, be able to hear you clearly. So check the volume on your devices and make sure you're projecting very loudly throughout your speech. Throughout the speech, just leave the camera set to one frame. Don't be zooming in and out. If you can, use a tripod or a camera stand if you have one. The important thing is that you keep the shot steady. It doesn't move. So that means you should just stand without walking or pacing. Stand right in one spot in the middle of the frame. The camera doesn't have to move. You don't have to move. Don't leave the view of the camera. The audience should sit quietly and not interact with you while you're speaking, but you can encourage, and I do encourage you to do so, the audience to applaud at the end. This is just nice for them to do. So after you hit your final line, they can clap. Ensure that there are no distractions, no noise interference while you're making your recording. When you're done with your speech, take a final shot of the audience so that I can see that they were there the whole time paying attention. And take a steady shot once again of each of your note cards so that I can see that you actually use the note cards you showed me at the beginning throughout your speech. Absolutely do not edit your speech. So you're going to hit record. You're going to record the whole speech all the way to the end. You're going to show the audience one last time, show your cards one last time, and then you're going to end the recording. So this is not a video editing course, and so I have no expectations for you to edit. And in fact, any editing will be considered an attempt to cheat and try to piece together a speech. I want to see you to be able to do a speech like you would if you were standing in an auditorium before a bunch of people. You can't edit a public speech while you're giving it, so please don't do that for this class. And this is very important. Don't read your speech, right? You should not be able to read your speech, so don't use an outline of your speech. Don't include the entire text of your speech on the note cards. Don't pretend to be using your note cards while you're actually reading off of the screen or a script that's in front of you. This is considered cheating. This is a public speaking class, not a public reading class. So if you're reading, you're gonna lose some points, and I may even consider it cheating and pursue some academic integrity issues. So please don't read your speech. If you have questions about these speech rules, Common Core question board is where you want to take it. Academic integrity, don't cheat in this class. It cheapens the value of our degrees here at CSN, and for that reason I'm going to enforce the academic integrity policy. So you need to, whether you're quoting or paraphrasing or even summarizing someone's work, cite your sources. If you don't cite your sources, that's considered plagiarism. This applies to speeches, speech outlines, submitted papers. Don't buy a paper. Don't copy text from websites without giving credit or without citing them. All of these things are examples of plagiarism. Don't turn in work that you've generated for a previous class in this class. If I suspect that you're cheating in some way, I'll pursue that following the Student Code of Conduct. Please, no hate speech this semester, no racist, sexist, homophobic, transphobic, ageist, classist, sizist, anything that might make my time or someone else's time hostile or disruptive or interfere with other people's rights to an education. I'll take appropriate action in such circumstances. So please be careful with your speech. Don't attack people for who they are. If you have a disability, I encourage you to communicate with me early on in this semester, and I'll see about how I can accommodate you. You should also consider using the Disability Resource Center, and there's a link to that here. If you need help with public speaking, tutoring, use the Centers for Academic Success, the communication centers which are in the Centers for Academic Success. They're available for drop-in on the campuses during these times. You can also call them and talk to a tutor at one of each of the campuses. And lastly, the third way you can access tutors is online through the Smart Thinking Tutors. The library is also a great resource for help. The librarians are very cool people, so you can contact the librarian through the website. You can also go to the libraries, and there are a lot of workshops and things on the library webpage, so check that out. Make sure that you are getting the advising that you need so that you're able to get your degree in a good amount of time without wasting your money. Make sure you are on a path toward a degree. Contact the advising if you want more help with that. If you are having any mental health issues or even just trouble affording your groceries or paying your bills and it's causing you stress, consider using the counseling and psychological services. They'll get you the help that you need. This is free to you, and you can use it up to like 8 times, like 8 sessions with a counselor each semester. So please take advantage of that if you need help with your well-being. I am an ally of the LGBTQ community, so if you had any questions about sexual orientation, gender identity, gender expression, or you're dealing with harassment or discrimination, feel free to reach out to me and I'll help you with that. Here's the refund policy, and then the last thing is I reserve the right to change this syllabus, but I will notify you in advance if I do. All right, so know this document. In the next video, I'm going to talk about the course calendar.